All right, so it is 7 o'clock on July 22nd. And this is a Q&A. So hopefully you brought your questions or comments this evening. I do have a couple of questions of my own, just kind of follow up from last meeting. Or maybe a couple meetings ago. I can't remember. Let's see. Is Margaret? Is it Margaret? Yes. And Ann Thompson. Okay. Got a lot of people on here. All right. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. Yay. So first thing that I want to address is loose leash walking, because that seems to be something that we're always working on forever and a day. And I do have actually a couple of videos to show you tonight, quick videos. Even though this is a Q&A, I do have some videos that I think are timely to share with you. So I will be doing that. But it's all about, they're both on loose leash walking. So that is something that we are constantly addressing. It tends to be one of the issues that we have the most problem with. Some of our dogs are spot on perfect. And if that's your dog, be thankful, because not all of our dogs are like that. If your dog is like that, keep working with them. Don't ever allow them to get to the point where they're pulling on that leash. Always bring them back, have them at your heel or side, either one. But we want to make sure that they're not pulling, because that tends to be in the future a problem for our recipients. If you are having an issue, then hopefully seeing these videos, couple of videos tonight, may help. So that's the first thing. Who the lady, I think it's Margaret, who has Chutney. Is she on here yet? I don't see her. I was going to ask her how Chutney was doing with loading. So I guess we'll wait. Yes, we'll wait for that. All right. Carlina, Melina, how is Sage doing?
That's a good question. Sage is, she just turned and looked at me as soon as I said her name. Like, why are you talking about me? She is, she did very good on a trip, except on the way back.
Okay.
But I mean, she rode the train. She laid under there as great as a peach. She got on a plane. She just laid there, slept the whole, we had a 5-hour flight.
Wow. Okay.
And she was the perfect thing. Getting on the plane was definitely an issue, because she was trying to jump, which then the person at the airport terminal that was getting not the stewardess, it's the other person, whatever, who was going to let us on. She saw that and she was like, oh no, that's not the actions of a service dog. And then she wanted us to tell us why she was a service dog, and totally stumped me for the longest while. I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, what is it? I said, she's, she provides services. She provides, the ability, to help move from one. And she says, that's not enough. I mean, it was just like a whole Q&A the whole time at the kiosk. I was just totally flustered for like a good 10 minutes.
Mm. And that can be frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't know what. She said, well, I can't tell you what the answer is. I need you to tell me. And I said, well, she's a service dog. She provides a service. She helps, she assists, She's like, well, I mean, she made it clear. I'm not asking you for what the disability is, but I want to know what is her service. Linda looks like she has she could tell us something.
Go ahead, Linda.
I have flown with every one of my dogs, and Southwest Airlines, and I ran into that problem. And the solution that New Horizons gave me was, you be sure to tell them this is a mobility. You just have to know, you have to say, act like you know exactly what this dog is doing. It's for my mobility. All you have to do is use the word mobility, and that seems to, you have to tell them what kind of service this dog is providing.
Yeah.
And I usually get a service jacket that says service dog instead of the one that's in training. Because in training, even though I carry the paperwork with me that says that we have the same rights as a trainer,
Mhm.
as a regular person, instead of going through all that mess, I just get a jacket, or I cover up the word service in training on the jacket so they can't see that word. And it looks like a regular service dog that's not in training. And you're right, he shouldn't be jumping up, but
Right.
but
Right.
you know, things like that
Yeah. I
happen.
think you just need to be prepared. Like they can only ask 2 questions. They can only ask you 2 questions. What are the 2 questions?
Well, what's the dog for?
What's
And
the
if you
dog
say
for?
mobility,
Right.
Mhm.
and that's the
what-
only question they've ever asked me.
There are
Is
2
what's the dog
questions though.
for?
What
Service does this dog provide?
yes,
Provide,
what service
yeah.
does this dog
What
provide?
service is this? That's what they kept asking. What service does this dog
Yeah,
provide?
and had you
Well,
said
you can use the
he's a mobility dog,
I usually say mobility assist, and that's it.
yeah,
Yeah, you can say balance too. You can tell them it's for your balance. That works. But I always come prepared with paperwork because I got stuck in New York. I got up there, no problem with my dog, but it was a puppy too. It was Dasher when she was a puppy. And I got to the airport to come back home, and the guy gave me all kind of trouble. And I
That
mean,
was
I'm
the
like, well,
issue.
he said, you shouldn't have been allowed up here. I said, well, how do you expect me to get back to Florida? I'm now in New York. He was a real problem, but that's the only time I've had a problem. Southwest has been really good because I started to know what to say.
right. I think
And then
that
they just don't question
And
it.
that's why when we were on the last time, I said, "What do you say?" And everybody say, "Just take your paperwork." And I was like, "Okay." But yeah, we got there fine, no issues, no problem. On the way back, they're like, "Oh no," and she's too big to go onto the seat, so we don't know what you're gonna do with her. And I'm like sitting there going, "Excuse me."
right. Normally they curl right at your feet.
I've seen big.
No. When they said that they were not going to allow her to travel as a service dog, they said at that point she would not fit in a crate, so we
Right.
would not be able to put her onto the seat.
Okay.
We would have to check her.
Okay.
And I'm like, that is not happening.
And what airline? That was JetBlue, right?
That was JetBlue.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you do need to know that every airline has different guidelines. They have different guidelines. Allegiant has always been great. That's normally who I fly with just because where I'm going, it's Allegiant. They've always been wonderful, whether it's a service dog in training or they don't care. They do ask for paperwork. You do, and most airlines now are asking for that DOT paperwork that you turn in. Either you have it with you or they have you upload it before or whatever. But
Mhm.
Linda is correct in they can ask you what service does this dog provide, but you have to be confident enough that you can just say they're a mobility dog and not go into a long dissertation about your dog. Like it literally is just.
As you can hear, this does not sound like a service dog.
Well,
Look at this.
She acted
This is
better
out
in
of
the airport.
control, Sage.
Mine are
Look at,
acting up right now too, so I'm staying muted.
Yeah.
I mean, she is just out of control.
What is the other question they can ask you? What service does this dog provide? There's one other question.
How does this dog help you or something?
How does the dog assist you? I think is what she was asking too.
Well, that would be the same as what service does this dog provide?
What specifically this dog does to assist you, I think it is.
Is this a service animal, and what service does it provide?
Thank you. Is this a service animal? Yes. Okay. So is this a service animal? Yes. Shouldn't be any more to that question. Yes. And then what service does this dog provide?
When you
And
say
so
mobility
I usually will say the dog is task trained, but mobility is fine. Mobility assist is fine. So you just, yeah, you do want to have your verbiage down. So
So wish I had that word
if
ready.
you were steered wrong, Melina, for that, I apologize because we've talked about that before.
How did you get past it, Melinda?
Well, like I said, it was 10 minutes. I mean, sitting there sweating bullets because this flight was about to take off. It was a red eye. There was no other way. I had to go to work in the morning. So we're sitting there and we're flustered. And we finally said, she says, I don't need to know what the disability is. I just need to know how does this dog, what services this dog provide? I said, she helps her. I don't know what else to say.
Right.
So-
I think they want you to be specific.
Mhm.
So, well, you got home, obviously.
We did.
So that's something
With this one, as you can see.
yeah. So just so you all know, Melina flew on JetBlue. On the way out to California was fine. On the way back, right? California?
Yep.
Yes. Sage got a little excited and jumped up. And that was an indication to someone there that she was not a service dog. So
How old is she? How old is she?
She is 5 months.
5 months.
Well, she'll be 6 months
So
on Monday.
So don't say that it's the age because Laura and I both have traveled with young dogs.
I
It
have
could
to,
have just been the moment. It could have been something because I think several of us have traveled with young dogs and it's been
no,
fine.
I just came back from California, round trip to California, and I usually fly American and United and Delta. I've been Delta also. And I also take that back. I've been JetBlue also, but I not really ever had a problem. The only problem I ever had was leaving Los Angeles. I don't remember what airline I was on, and they took me over to a service desk and had me show the papers and all that stuff. But
Yeah,
that's-
they did that too. They did that at the airport when we were checking in.
But the rest of the time, I haven't had that since then. That was probably 4 years ago.
Well,
And
they did that to everybody. I don't know if it's COVID, but everybody who had a dog, whether emotional support, whatever it was, whether they were paying for the dog or not, they took everybody off to the side, went through their documents, like, fine tooth comb, whatever it is, and then had them go back to the lines, to the TSA.
I think that's what I had. That's what I had. I had one person in, you know what? I think it was JetBlue now that I think about it. And she was a pain in the neck. I mean,
Yes.
and I gave her the right answers, but she still was not. Well, number one, they couldn't find the reservation for her on my list, and it was there. I said, I got out here. It was on my reservation then, and it was, but she couldn't find it. It was something that they lost in their system or did something, or she was just plain didn't know what she was
Yeah.
doing.
Well, you just want to make sure that one, your documentation is in order if you're flying with your dog and you know the verbiage, you know what to say. And, like I told Laura when she flew with one of our dogs for the first time, just pretend like you know what you're doing. I mean, even if you're not sure, you want to at least look at, because can be a little nerve wracking the first couple of times you fly with the dog. It can be.
Yeah. Yeah, Tahiti did wonderful on the trip, round trip, both ways. The first time traveling through the airport, I used to get a wheelchair because I want to take that. I have trouble balancing and walking anyway, but I could have been fine for this time, but I like to use it as an opportunity to train them. So I did the wheelchair out there, and she was a little apprehensive running along beside the wheelchair. You could tell she was just a little jittery, but she was fine. She went. And then getting on the plane a little bit, and then when the plane took off, but she settled and slept the whole way. And then coming back, she was like an old pro going through the airport. Like, all right, here I am, and this is fun. And got on the plane and went sound asleep, and no problem. So.
Good. Okay. How is the biting going? People who are having issues with biting.
We're fine.
She's still doing it right now.
Really?
Uh-oh.
Wow. And
Melina, leash her. Leash her
leash her,
and tell her to settle.
leash her.
She is on a leash. I have her on a leash.
And then
Okay,
put the
then
leash
put your
under
foot on it.
and step on it. So she can't get to you. She has to lie at your feet.
Tell her to settle.
She's laying down now.
Good. And then just keep your foot on that leash so that she can't get to you. It doesn't become game time or playtime or whatever. Okay.
You're the boss of her. If you're not, she will be the boss of you.
Yes.
And the next person, and the next person.
Okay. So we'll start at the top. Okay. So Nicole Frisbee says she flies American, and as long as she's prepared to answer questions and maintain control of the dog, it has been fine. Absolutely. And most of our dogs will do well. I've taken a couple of dogs and it's been their first time at the airport. Now I know some people have gone to the airport to practice prior to their flight. That's a great idea as well. I just haven't had time to do that with the dogs I've flown with. And normally I've not had an issue with any of my dogs. They get in there, they realize their vest is on, they know what they're working, and they're well behaved. And they've never had a problem through security. I flew with Wrangler. Now Wrangler is mostly with Laura right now, but I took him and said, hey, I'll fly up north with him. I'm going to North Carolina. He flew with me, and you would have thought that dog had flown all his life. And I even got patted down twice on our return, on one of going or coming. And he was a trooper. He just was a pro. So he didn't get upset that I was being patted down. He just stood right there. And the lady even asked me, do you want to take him away? And I'm like, no. I'm going to let him eat you if you pat. No. So he was fine.
She was afraid.
So, if you want to practice, I think that's great. Our dogs normally do very well, and they take up the space at your feet. So you do have to consider that. You kind of have to sit, around them because they do try to tuck themselves in under, but that's their spot. If you're lucky and you have a nice airline like Allegiant usually does, they try to seat me, or if I'm flying with my husband, they'll try to seat us so we have an extra seat, and then the dog has the whole row. That doesn't always happen, but so just, you kind of want to practice what you're going to say in case you are asked. Sometimes they don't say a word, but sometimes they do. You just have to be ready for that. So Jessica, you said you had a question that goes along with that.
I do have a question. So I've been blessed to be working a contract job for the past months, and I've been working from home. That is now ending, and I'm going in and I'm applying for some of the roles are in person. So with having Fiji, since she's not my service dog, I was wondering if you had like the kind of verbiage to use when presenting them with the information that I do have a service dog that's not mine. Like, what can they put a restriction and say like, no, she's not allowed, or how does that work?
So you mean you're applying for a job?
Yeah, applying for jobs that are in person. It'll be in an office, that kind of setting.
Okay.
Florida statute is what you want to cite. And if you get a photo ID from the office, it actually has the statute printed on the back.
Mm-hmm.
The ADA only applies to clients, but there is a Florida statute that says as a puppy raiser, as a service dog trainer, you have the same access privileges that a client does.
Yep.
And that is Florida state law.
They did have somebody I interviewed with, they like asked around with HR and they said, no, she can't have it because it's not her dog. She can't have the dog here. So that's why I was kind of looking to see, because I knew there was something. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah,
So
the Florida statute, it's 413.08.
Okay.
Specifically states any trainer of a service animal while engaged in the training of such an animal has the same rights and privileges with respect to access to public facilities and the same liability for damage. But it's Florida statute 413.08.
413.0.
And so if you're,
It is on your back, on your name identification.
it's a, I don't want to say, it's a sticky area sort of when you're talking about going in for a job. I have the same issue. I work in a school district, and They, you know, don't want me. I bring the dogs on teacher work days and other times, but the dog can't necessarily come with me while I'm teaching because they look at it as a conflict of interest. So, but at your place of work, if you're sitting at a desk all day, there's no reason that the dog, and literally the dog would be
No
under the
bite.
desk and that's where they would stay until you took them out for a break.
Right. So
So,
that's why I was like, well, I'm not going to be working with other people. I had a job offer from a role that was front desk and they said it was okay. So that's why when this job offer came along and they told me no, I was like, weird, because I'm not even going to be around other people. So
hmm,
They
Yeah.
just don't know any better and.
yeah, they don't know any better. That's true.
I think they just don't want a dog in the office as much as they say they do. I think because they see it, they haven't seen it, but I did say she was a 6-month puppy. I think that's where they kind of were like, no.
Maybe you don't need to be quite so explicit.
Right.
Yeah, well,
Get
they
so much
asked.
information.
Well, they asked, they were like, how old's the puppy? Because I said, I'm puppy raising. And then they said, oh, well, how old is the puppy? And I wasn't about, I just,
No, you
Right,
walked into
no.
that one.
yeah.
Yeah, so you just want to be, look, she's 6 months old, she's very well behaved, she's expected to
Right.
behave a certain way in certain places. Obviously, if I bring her and I have a problem with her, I will, I will fix it, or I will take her home, whatever. I mean, whatever your plan is.
And
You just want to have a
Jessica-
plan in your head when you are interviewing with them, like what
I
is
mean,
your plan?
she's
And
really,
instead
now she's sleeping.
of saying you're a puppy raiser,
Uh-huh.
you are training a service dog.
Yes,
You are volunteering you're serving as a volunteer
Okay.
to train a service dog.
yep,
That's a little more official than puppy raising.
yeah,
Right.
because they automatically hear the first word is puppy.
Right. And then I did say puppy raising, and she's going to be the service dog, but you're right. I did
Yeah.
say puppy raising.
Yep.
I'm raising
So-
a service dog.
You're not being dishonest. I mean, our dogs are.
It's a little too on.
Our dogs should know how to act in an office. I mean, there's going to be some of them that are going in an office.
That's exactly what I told her when she told me, that whole, when I said, well, I thought it would be a great opportunity for her to learn how to be in an office setting. She's already great at home and she sleeps most of the day. So that's why I thought it would be a good fit and why I mentioned it.
Yep.
They're like, yeah, no, unfortunately, no. And I was like,
Yeah,
there
well,
must be something.
Yeah.
that's the wrong job for you then.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, I don't think this is gonna work out, but we'll
And
see.
they cannot not hire you because of it. That's
Right.
what's bothering me is that it happened during an interview. They could easily say, we're not going to hire her because she's got to do this and we really don't want to do this in our office. So
Yeah, no, they brought me in for a second interview, but they told me no on the puppy. And I think I'm just gonna tell them no. I don't think it's the right fit anyway. But just wanted to, since I am going to be interviewing, I didn't know if I should be bringing her to interviews as well. I thought that would be a great
I think
thing.
that's
I
right.
would. If you're
Yeah.
going to in-person interviews, I would absolutely take her.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Just make sure you've gotten the zoomies out of her before.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. She gets
Yes.
very excited and very friendly. But
After
actually,
she's exhausted.
Yeah.
Tahiti lays down as Laura and Wendy know. I mean, I go and I play 3.5 hours worth of bridge, and she sleeps in the chair,
Yeah.
chair there. So no problem in the office. If I'm there, she's there. So and they do. They're wonderful. They really
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
I worked from home and at one point I had an office chair here and she would just sleep right by my feet all day, no problem. So
They
Yeah.
want to be there, right there with you the whole time.
Yep.
yeah,
You just have to make sure, obviously, that she gets a chance to go out but yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so Jumanji stopped loading all of a sudden a month ago. I have to either just tug on his leash on the other side of the car, get in first, and then he will load. So did the car change? Is this a different car?
No, I was curious if just with the weather change and maybe I was keeping my car outside instead of the garage if it was too hot and he
Could
didn't
be.
want to load. Does that happen?
Say that again?
Does that happen? Like they just, it's too hot in there or?
It could be. I know it has sometimes when I take him out to the truck, he'll stop like a couple feet before the truck. And then at that point I get a treat. I get a treat and go, okay, bud, or I'll get a ball or a treat, guaranteed Hess will load. But I usually, so my car stays out in the heat as well. And I will turn my car on first before I expect the dogs to get in. I will turn it on, turn my air on high and give it a minute or two. And then, just kind of like you would heat your car up in the winter when it's cold. I do the same thing because they are, some dogs can be reluctant. It's warm. So you might want to try that. I would definitely, if you haven't, is he ball oriented?
Not too much. And I've tried the treats and that doesn't work. And then, I mean, honest, if I get in, cause I've been loading him in the back seat, if I get in, and say the load, he'll jump right in without any problem.
Okay, well,
So he'll follow you in and then I just go out the other door and go back around to the driver's seat.
okay. So if you get in, all right, you get in, and then I would reward him. So if you get in, if he'll load when you get in the car, then I would get in and say load. And then as soon as he's in, I would go reward him, give him a treat.
Okay.
For
It's
load.
just weird. It's just weird because he was great at loading for, 4 months. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden he just has decided, nope.
Yeah, well, if he still is loading when you're getting in, then he still knows how to do it. He didn't forget. But I would definitely reward him so he connects with, oh, I got up here and she's giving me a treat. So, or at least go back and say, just really highly praise him, because he still is doing it. He just maybe isn't doing it necessarily the way you would like him to. But yeah, I would cool the car off and see if that helps.
Okay. All right.
'Cause it is,
Thanks.
I mean, think about it when we get into the hot car. Ugh.
Yeah.
So. Okay, I just read Valerie's. My principal responded to my request to bring Conan to school and said the legal department said no, pursuant to some blah, blah. Now okay, yeah. I mean, I've had that same problem, Valerie. Unfortunately, although the principal I have is receptive, so I can bring him on teacher work days when students aren't there, and I can bring him other times when I don't have students. I do the teach-in. I can bring them on teach-in. Yeah, there was a lady that I saw on Facebook who was bringing her service dog in training to school and reading, and the kids read to him. And I haven't gone back and looked. I need to look at my phone. I'm almost sure I screenshot it. It was a school in Florida, because Seminole County said if I brought them the verbiage from another county that's allowing service dogs in training to come in, then they would use that. So I just saw that recently, this lady, and she's in Florida. I can't remember what county it is. So yeah, it's a work in progress. So.
Yeah, I'm annoyed.
Yeah, I know. It annoys
I
me.
don't want to give this baby back yet.
Yeah, because they talk about, they talk about it being a conflict of interest, and they don't really understand that I'm not at school training the dog. Like, the dog would come in and go under my desk, and that's pretty much where they would remain until I had a break. And yeah, so I get it. Are you going to be able to take him for work days?
I think so, yeah. And you said if I come to after school activities,
Yeah.
like a member of the community, I can bring him.
Yeah,
right?
they can't.
I don't want to go to after school activities because you're already driving me crazy. So I don't want to be there any more than I have to.
Right, yeah, okay. Yes, Linda.
I had this problem when I had my first dog because my co-raiser was a 7th grade teacher at Wolf Lake in Orange County. And at first, the principal was just fine. And we were able to she took Dasher half the time. And then a new principal came, and that principal was like, no, you can't bring the dog. And Janet told me that they absolutely cannot refuse. And she was like, I'm going to Orange County School Board and I'll bring the law with me. And so I don't know if Janet can do something for us or not. She's a pretty big force to contend with.
Well, she came with me to Seminole County.
Oh, yeah.
And
it
we went
didn't
and
work.
talked to the HR and they didn't budge. They said, if I got verbiage from another county, somewhere else in Florida that was doing it, and I could bring it to them and they could look at it, then they would consider it. But
Is it just personal preference for each employer? Because there is a law that says they can come, but is it just like personal
Right.
preference?
well, it's the interpretation of the statute, how they interpret it.
Huh.
So like school districts are saying our campuses are closed. So they don't necessarily let the public on there, like during the school day, our campuses are closed. And so that's how Seminole County is phrasing it. So
I suppose you could get a class action suit and get an attorney and go to all the counties and you know, ACL, everybody could say, hey, come on, you guys, you can't do this. But
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's very frustrating because we know that our dogs would be well behaved and that I wouldn't be spending the day training them. And not only that, the benefit for the kids is immense.
That's the
And
big benefit.
It's unfortunate that they can't see that. You know, I think
I mean,
part of that,
I used to sneak my personal dog in because my old principal was actually kind of cool with it. She's like, I don't know. I don't hear you. I don't know anything. And I would sneak my dog in and the kids were like a whole different group of kids. They would do anything I asked them to do.
Yep. Makes a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like, if I had him with me, same thing. The kids would be like, oh, you have it. And they just like become different little human beings when there's the dog around.
right, it's true.
And I teach college and I have students come in and say they are so thrilled to have the dog in there. It just totally reduces their stress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
just
they're
because
great. They're really
presence
great
of the animal. Yeah.
So
I mean, I
that's
so
teach high
great.
school. These aren't like little children I'm talking about. I teach high schoolers and they still like, they become little kids again
yeah.
instead of jerks when they see the dog.
Exactly.
Probably a lot more compliant as a
Yeah.
result.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what the school district doesn't understand. I think also they're afraid that once they let one person bring their dog, not really realizing how much training these dogs have had, then everybody's going to be like, oh, can I bring my dog? Can I bring my dog? And they don't really understand. Some of the people don't even really understand. So yes. Let's see, Eileen. Yeah, Eileen, you were back in the day. When I first started with New Horizons, was it New Horizons? No, when I just had a puppy, I took the puppy to school with me. Yeah, it was before New Horizons. It was like 18 years ago. And my principal was like, oh, you have a puppy. And I'm like, yeah, that wouldn't happen today, you know?
Well, that was just 4 years ago that I retired. And, but I think it made a difference because I wasn't in a classroom.
Right, that as well. Yep.
And yeah.
Well, Christy's been able to have Diver there too.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And they actually they wanted me to go to Stark Elementary and bring the dog to meet with some of the kids after school who are having difficulty reading, because they know those reading programs and the dogs are so successful.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh-oh, Valerie, what's the matter?
It's exactly the point. Like they just don't get it. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I know.
Yep.
But if you have someone in, the administrator's family who has ever had use of a service dog or knew a service dog.
Yeah.
And, if I even suggested, Tom Russell in Volusia County was just a very special superintendent. And I had encouraged some of them to actually take the drive out to New Horizons just to see what was going on. I had a PowerPoint presentation, the whole bit, but Yeah, once they have to walk a mile in a disabled person's shoes, they
Yep.
get it.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
So
That was
no, Valerie, you're not alone. Maybe we need to teach college. We'll go with Linda. So we have a couple of new people on, Linda and Bud with Gamora. Is it Gamora? Gamora. What letter is that? Can't hear-
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's Marvel.
Okay.
Yeah, Marvel. Yeah.
Gotcha. And Chuck and Annabelle with Cinder, and that's a firefighter litter. Yes.
Yes. Blaze and Bunker and Cinder. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, look at that
Yes.
sweetie.
Oh,
Other than Gamora.
very cute. Oh, so happy to have a home.
Usher Shield. Aw.
Very sweet.
So if you have a breeder, wave or type in something, because you all are going to be support to these folks that have their breeder pups.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a breeder pup. She just got taken outside, but we do have a breeder pup.
Oh, congratulations. Sweet.
I have two breeders, so I will be more than happy to answer questions or whatever. So I have Panera, who has babies out there right now, and I have one of her babies, Tahiti. So anytime you have any questions about them, I'm happy to help.
Nice.
Breeding process.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and show the two videos that I have for us, and then we can get back to questions. So be thinking about, so if you don't have any questions right now, watch the videos and then see if you have some questions on the videos. The first video is our advanced trainer, Libby, who is at our West Palm location. And we got to spend the day with her yesterday, and she is a wealth of information. And so she did a quick training time with Wasabi, because Wasabi went with us. And so I'm going to show you that first. And then I'm going to show you one of today of me where I worked with Wrangler for just a couple minutes. So let's see if I can do this right. So first I'm going to share my screen. And then I'm going to let's see. Okay, can you all see that? Yes, okay. All right, so here we go. So this is Libby and Wasabi working on loose leash walking.
Working on the barrier leash work, loose leash walking. This is how you want to start. The purpose that we want to use the barrier is to keep the dog straight so he's not wandering and pulling out in front of you and stuff. And the dog needs to understand the yes marker before you start this. And you need his engagement. And before you start to move forward, you want the dog looking up at you. So this is a good way to train, watch me as well. We should close that window. So I'm going to start with a lure. We're going to say, let's go. I'm going to put the lure right down to his nose and lure him. We're going to go a few steps. I'm going to mark it with a yes. I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to drop the treat and deliver the treat in his mouth. And just remember, proper yes marker is the treat delivery is after the yes. Yes. Watch me. Let's go. Yes. You gotta get watch me from it. Watch me. Now, he's not in position, so this is what I'm gonna do. I got a treat. I'm gonna push him right back. Yes, I'm marking it and I'm rewarding it, and of course it dropped. I don't know, maybe he doesn't like them. Nope, he ate that one. Watch me. Watch. So we have distractions. It's best to start this with no distractions. Wasabi, let's go. Get him back in position. Yes. So that's what you want to do for the first week at least. Once you get confident and comfortable, you can take it off the fence line, the barrier. You can use curb, bushes, your garage, your hallway. There's a lot of things you can use as the barrier. You know, it just depends on what environment you're in.
And we can teach this or reteach it at any age.
Because that last group that we had, I spent, God, the best first 3 months was just all leash work with these guys.
Okay.
Got this focus. Let's go. Yes. And as they start getting it, you can take more steps. We're going to get him back where I want him. Yes. That's what this is for, which I'm not. I'm doing too many things at once here. Watch me. Let's go. Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll stop
I have
sharing.
a question. I noticed that she has the leash placed behind her legs. behind her
Yes.
back. And
Yep.
that- I can see where that would really be beneficial. I'm gonna try
Yes.
that immediately.
I've been doing that on certain times with certain dogs, and it's very helpful. Yes, so she was working on Watch Me, which is the dog looking at you. You have their attention. And then she was working on just them walking right on your heel side with a treat. She also did a short video on how to hold a treat, and I forgot to upload that. So I will show that next time. But she just talked about how important it is. So she had the treat in right here in her hand. And so, you know, it wasn't like she wasn't trying to hold it here with the fingers like this. She had it right here. She set it right there. And I also noticed she had her treat bag behind her back. Well, you wouldn't have seen that, but well, maybe you did as she turned, but her treat bag was on her backside. So it wasn't to her side. And often I will use it on my side. And then what happens is they know it's right there and they're going for it. Wasabi didn't seem to realize that it was on her, behind her. So she just pulled it out of her back and put it here. And then she held it up to his nose, and that was where she got him back in position. So any questions about that?
Yeah, what is the best kind of treat bag? I have one, but it's difficult to get the treats out of it.
Yeah, Margaret, you have to find one that works. I've actually bought a couple, two very different ones, and it just depends on what I'm doing. I use a different one at like our 2-hour trainings than I do when it's just me and the dog.
Okay.
So you just have to find one that works for you.
Libby's was an open container, just like a soft-sided container that was on a fanny pack belt.
Yep.
It wasn't a drawstring. It didn't have a fancy lid or anything. It was just kind of an open, soft-sided pouch on the back.
And I think the fanny pack belt thing, I think that's a really, I have both. I have one where you clip it on your pocket and a belt to it. So I think though I found that the belt is better. It just gives me, I don't have to worry about it falling out of my pocket or off my pocket.
And I have one too that is a clip-on, but it, and actually the mouth of it is just too small, and it's got this drawstring, and it's just a pain in the butt. So I usually just put it in my pocket and leave it there.
Yeah.
In my pocket.
Yeah. So I would look. Chewy sometimes has some good ones. I'll have to see if I can take pictures of mine. I recently bought two, and I kind of like both of them, sort of. So I'm not like 100% satisfied, but pretty close. Any other questions about that? So just wherever, it can be inside your house against a wall. but you really, you know whether your dog is on it for loose leash walking or not. And if they're not, then this is something she suggests working on every day so that they get better and better. And even our older dogs can relearn loose leash walking if they're pullers right now. So I'm going to show you any questions. Okay, I'm going to show you the next video. This is today. I had Wrangler, and we'll see how Wrangler does.
Yes. Wrangler, let's go. Yes. Do you have any more stuff? Wrangler. Boy, let's go. Yes. Good job. Let's go. Yes. Okay. You can.
And he has a tendency to be a puller. So he did, and that was just, we maybe did that for, Tim did the video, but we did it a few more times. I maybe did it with him for 5 minutes. And that's, and if he lived with me, I might do that for 5 minutes, 3 times a day, just so he got it right away. He knew. So, yeah. So that's a great start, especially if you have puppies. Great time to get that loose leash walking under control. Like I said at the beginning, that's something we work on a regular basis because we want our dogs just to be able to walk without pulling us down the street or pulling the recipient of their dog down the street. So any questions, any comments? Yes, no? I think that's something I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay. All right. So questions for the good of the group. Well, even if they're not for the good of the group.
Okay, I'll ask something.
All right.
So I usually ask Conan to like carry something, whether it's like a bag of groceries or whatever, just to practice like the hold and kind of walking around with something in his mouth. And he was doing really well, but like now I don't know if I've given him too much praise for doing it. And now he just thinks it's fun. Cause like today I went to Target and one of the things I was getting was just a box of Q-tips. So I gave it to him to hold, to carry to the checkout. But he was playing with it, like, the like holding it, but then kind of throwing it up. And so, I went home with a box of Q-tips full of holes, which is fine. But, and then when we got to the register and I said, give, he kind of played for a second until I got like real firm and I kind of tugged his collar a little bit, but he was doing really well. And now he's starting to make it play. So I don't know what I've done wrong to make him think that we're playing when we do that.
Right. Well,
I at the firehouse, Janet went with that on me and Benson, and what we did is we put it in his mouth and had him held it, and I held his mouth secure for like 4 seconds, and then we gave it back, and we did it in like 4 seconds, 5 seconds intervals, as opposed to just letting it sit there. And then I'm gradually increasing the time, so now he'll do it for like 12, 15 seconds, and I take it back. And he doesn't think it's a toy. He thinks it's a task.
Okay.
So it's the short duration until they realize this isn't a game.
Okay. So maybe I need to start over with just practicing that at home. Cause I was like, you're doing so great. And then like today I was like, don't embarrass me.
Well, and something that you might have done in the store while he had it in his mouth is hold his mouth gently for him. Like when once you saw him start to play with it, then he would have held his mouth, or at that point you could have just been like, and tried again. Like,
yeah. Well, and I took it for a little while and I just told him no when he tried to like get it from me. He kind of was reaching up because he's so flip and tall to just take it out of my hand. And I was like, no. And then when he seemed to kind of lose interest in it, I gave it back to him. And that was when we were on our way to the register. And then I just took it from him while we were waiting in line. So, but I'll try that with doing like shorter stints with things at home to get him to understand it's not a game. But
Yeah. And it's okay to hold.
I just feel like we regressed instead of got better.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. But yeah, if you just hold on, it's okay to hold their snout just gently, you know. I mean, I do that with mine and just say, hold, good hold. And then, yeah, and like Kenny said, the duration, everything is about duration. You know, we start real small increments of time with puppies. And as they get older, it should be that they can hold it longer, hold a stay longer, whatever. Yeah. Duration comes with all of those. So good question. Yeah.
I'll try that. Thank you.
One thing I really appreciated was the fact that we had to teach them to go on different surfaces because, you know, it's a concrete jungle out in LA.
Yeah.
And it was kind of hard to tell her, look, you got to go right here.
Yeah.
We cannot find a spot. You know, I mean, I did find the pet relief area near the hotel where I could take her afterwards. But I mean, there was no grass. It was just dirt.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, she's used to going in the grass and she's looking at me like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But then when she realized there was no place else to go and she had to go, she was, you know, she realized that that's what you had to do. She didn't like the pet relief areas in the airport either. Those were disgusting.
Well, United has a new one down on their wing in Orlando, and I was ecstatic to see it. It's by the women's and men's restroom, and it's where they have the baby changing station in the same area together. And I thought, oh, this is great. They finally have one in here. So I took Tahiti in there, and she looked around. There was no way in heck she was going to pee in that. And it was even self-cleaning. They had a button to push that flooded the artificial turf and made it clean. And I was so impressed with it because the one in LA stinks to high heaven.
Yes, that one in LA, there was bugs and stuff flying all over.
Oh,
she was like, nope, not going.
Can't blame them.
The one in Orlando was immaculate, absolutely immaculate. And she went over and there
The
was
one in Jacksonville is really nice. I love that one.
Wow, interesting.
Didn't work. She just had to hold it for 10 hours.
Right. And they can hold it for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I had one of them way back, you know, several years ago, and I had a 14-hour time with a puppy. I think it was Hansel, and it was a 14-hour delay before he could get out to the potty.
Wow.
And he was fine, and he was under probably about 9 months old or something. He was fine.
Interesting. Okay, other questions?
I just wanted to make a comment to the breeder caretakers. You need to make sure that they get the training that you guys are talking about, because I've taken quite a few dogs to be bred, and there's nothing worse than having an unruly, an unmanageable male or female dog to take in to get bred.
Yeah.
You got that?
These dogs are big enough, they can pull you right off the ground.
Yes, they can.
Yeah. So that's why we
especially when they're excited.
Yeah, that's why we ask those of you who have the breeder dogs is that you follow the same training that we follow as service dogs in training, so that they'll be well behaved, they'll have manners, and they'll do okay even if someone else takes them. Because yes, that's important. Manners are important.
That is our responsibility.
Yes. Yep. Thank you, Robert, for sharing that. Very true. Other questions or comments? Or if you have something good that has happened that your dog has done and you want to share that.
I'll make a comment. This is Jeff. I have Hutch, and I made a mistake about 3 or 4 weeks ago, in that I was at Publix, and I was at the pharmacy, and I let a nice lady give Hutch a treat from the pharmacy. And I usually take Hutch to Publix about like 2, maybe 3 times a week. And after that time, that one time where I let Hutch get a treat from the pharmacy, then as soon as we walked by the pharmacy, that's where his whole focus was. So I've since been able to correct behavior by just giving him treats, sitting near the pharmacy and doing the watch me and walking by the pharmacy like 20 times. But it took a good 3 weeks of going to Publix like 3 times a week to get him to correct that behavior. So just be careful who you allow or where you allow somebody else to give your dog a treat.
They don't forget.
No, the memory is incredible.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So speaking of Publix is a really great place to weigh your dog. If you're not doing it already, if you go there weekly or bi-weekly, Publix is one of the places that has a scale, and it's really nice for our dogs have to get up on it. It does move a little bit. I'm not sure that Conan can fit on it, but maybe he can. I don't know, but I know, I take my dogs, and that's just an easy way for me to weigh them and keep track of their weight. For our older dogs, whatever weight that you receive them out of prison should pretty much be, unless you're Conan, should be where they're at, unless you were told by New Horizons that, hey, this dog needs to take some weight off. If that's what you were told, then that's a different story. But if whatever you pick that dog, whatever weight you picked that dog up, if it's a prison dog, that's the weight they should be at. So for me, Hess was at 171, 172, and that's about where he stays. He'll sometimes go to 173. Once he went to 175, and I immediately just cut his food back a little bit, and he's back down. So just want
You mean 75, not 175.
Yes, I say that every time.
Yeah, that'd be a little big for Hutch or Hess.
Yes, thank you, Jeff.
I was just sitting there saying, "Oh my gosh, she's gonna get that heavy."
Sorry, 71.
I
Yes.
take Conan to my vet because it's like less than a mile away from my house. And he actually has dropped a few pounds like he was meant to. So
Good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good boy.
So if your vet is convenient, that's fine. Just as long as you're keeping track. You're not, even though we only do evaluations once a month for the puppy raisers, you still want to be mindful of their weight, because it's real fast. They can start to, gain that weight, especially in the summer. It's harder to walk them unless we're doing it in the morning or at night. I try to get my walks in first thing in the morning, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So we want to make sure that we're keeping track of that weight, keeping it where it needs to be, not allowing these dogs to get overweight. So, yeah.
How do you know how much to feed them? Because first we were told, give them like a cup when they were a puppy. And gradually, we increased it. But I mean, how do you know when it's too much?
Now she should be being fed, because she's the same age as Wasabi. She should be being fed a cup in the morning and a cup at night.
Oh.
Yep. Now, if she's getting a lot of exercise, playing with other dogs, or you're walking her a lot, then I would give her, like, I know Wasabi, on the days when he has a lot of exercise, I've taken him for a 3-mile walk, whatever. I give him a little bit more because he's been outside and exercising. But if she's pretty much not getting a lot of exercise, you have to stick to that cup in the morning and cup at night.
See, we were told to give a cup in the morning, a cup at noon, and a cup at night.
Right. But now she's past that age. Now she's 5 months.
Yeah.
So
skip the middle one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And you can, I don't know if you're putting water in it, but that does help keep them. I put water in mine. It helps them feel a little bit full, because it may be that now that you're going to cut that noontime feeding out, she might act like she's starving.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we do. I put water in mine, and sometimes green beans once in a while, like a spoonful of no salt green beans. It just depends.
Okay.
As a puppy, she should be fine with a cup in the morning and a cup in the afternoon or at night, whatever.
Okay.
I feed my dogs around 7 and again around 5 approximately.
Yeah, she was eating at 6, 12, and 5.
I would cut the 12 feeding out.
I've been feeding Tahiti like a cup and a half twice a day, so that's 1 cup too much, but she's not fat. She definitely is just perfect. So
okay, yeah, Wasabi's about 51 pounds.
She's only 42.
Okay, All right. Well, good.
feeding her 3 times a day.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Well, then she's probably okay if she's
Yeah.
not.
Well, then maybe, well, you do, thing is, you don't want to keep up with 3 times a day because that's not going to be how it is down the road. You want to
Okay.
cut her at this point. So if you give her a little extra, cup and a quarter or a cup and a half twice
That's
a day.
what I've been doing.
But yeah, but I would
Okay.
cut that 3rd feeding out.
Okay.
Good question. Yep.
You should be able to feel their ribs very easily. And that's what I kind of weigh it on. And
Right.
she's really gangly looking right now. She's growing really fast. And yeah, I can feel her ribs really easy. There's not just, the skin and a tiny little, 1/8 of an inch of fat underneath there in the ribs. And that's it. I mean, so she's
Yep.
just perfect.
Just, yeah,
So
just
for those,
run your hand along the side, see if you can
Yeah.
feel the ribs,
those of you with the new puppies, 3 times a day, absolutely.
Yes.
And it's at about 5 or 6 months that you
Yeah.
cut to twice a day.
Yep.
Somewhere in that 4 to 6 month range, you go from 3 times a day to twice.
Today. Yep. But if they're babies, they should be getting that 3 times a day. But now, yeah, Sage is old enough. She doesn't need that 3rd feeding anymore.
Okay.
Yes. Good. Other questions? Oh, Laura mentioned if you haven't gotten your pup immunized for canine influenza, Lake Mary Vet has the combo influenza vaccine and is charging $38. If you have a letter from New Horizons, they should offer a 20% discount. Is that what it was? Is that how you got yours, Laura? You didn't have to go under my name? You're on mute, Laura. I can't hear you.
Yes.
I see your hand.
They,
That $38, does that include the office? Because if you have never been there before, won't they require the vet to check them and charge you for that?
Wrangler had been there before. Denozo had not, but I had his med records with me and they did not charge an initial vet visit for him.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Wendy
Vet
does
did not
have,
give a discount.
Wendy does have a letter in her file at the vets. And I just say, okay, I'm puppy raising for New Horizons. If you want to see the letter and the agreement, you can look at Wendy Hartman's file and they do, and they go, oh, okay.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Their vest on them and make sure they know. Yeah.
Yeah.
We took ours to our vet and they knew because of course they've done all the shots and everything. And we asked for a discount and they said, nope.
No, mine won't give this.
That's too bad.
So it was 2 shots. It was $100.
Wow. Mine will charge $41 for so that would be $82 is what I found on mine. But they've been there before, so.
Yeah, mine haven't been. I use Lake Mary Vet, but sometimes I use another vet in Sanford, and my vet in Sanford isn't doing the shot, so I'm gonna end up going to Lake Mary. So
Wendy,
yeah.
if they are 8 weeks or older, they can get the shot, correct?
Yes.
Wasn't that what we said last time?
Yes.
So Chuck, your pup is old enough because she's what, almost 10 weeks old.
Yep.
Yes, she can get her, and it's a two shot series.
The my vet told me that Slate had to be 12 weeks, and I confirmed that with Kate, and they said, "Yep, we got to wait till 12 weeks." So Slate got his at 12 weeks, which was whatever it was, Monday.
Yeah, I don't know. I only know the email that I got from Kate that said 8 weeks and up. That's so. Yeah, I mean, if your vet did it at 12 weeks, then okay, great. Slate, huh?
I have a specific odd question for my situation. Benson and Slate like to wrestle a lot, and I'm not sure how far I should let them play. They have a game where they take a toy or a bone, and then the other one tries to get it out of his mouth, and then when he gets it, then he goes and runs around with it, and then they catch back up, and then whoever doesn't have it does the same thing. They wrestle a little bit and then they pull it out of each other's mouth. But sometimes they get a little carried away and they're playing pretty rough. Is this a bad thing?
So you want to listen for when you can tell it's amping up, like it's a little over the top. Because you have to remember, Slate is still, how old is he?
Well, I think he was 12 on Tuesday.
12 weeks?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 4 months. So he's probably a bit smaller than the other dog, right?
Somewhere in the 65-pound range, yes.
Is he?
There's a good 50-pound difference between them.
Okay. Okay, so
but they're not unhappy playing this game. They're having fun doing it. They're obviously enjoying this game.
Okay.
But I don't want either one of them to get where they go next to have, okay, well, this is what we do with another dog, if that's not acceptable to the other dog.
Right. Well, usually they learn who they can play with and who they can't play with. You know?
Okay.
And as long as they're not, like, you're not hearing that somebody's getting upset and going to the next level where they're, like it's.
Oh, well, I've settled them a couple times. I thought they were getting a little too carried away. And every once in a while I'll put them in a corner and, we're just going to sit here and do nothing for a while. But I kind of just wanted some confirmation that it's okay that I let them roughhouse with each other.
Yeah.
As long as they're happy with it.
That's how they learn to play. I just listen because I have to listen for Hess, and Hess has been real good with Wasabi, but I can hear when he's starting to like, and I'll be like, okay, nope, we're done. And we separate for a while and give him a timeout. And then a little bit later, I let him play again.
Hey, I'm in a class right now.
It's,
and we have Wrangler and Denozo, and Denozo's 3, Wrangler's 2. And they do Clash of the Titans. I mean, snarly face. It looks like Mufasa and Scar going at it, but they are completely playing.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't teaching him a bad habit.
Right.
That's what Panera and Tahiti do also. They sound like they're going to kill each other, but they really love it.
Yeah.
I had one issue though. Tahiti was used to playing with when we were in California, and Baltic is out there with my son, and I had a problem because Tahiti thought she could play with Baltic like that, and it was fine for a while, but Baltic didn't want to play all like that much, and Tahiti wouldn't leave him alone. And of course, Baltic outweighs him, as her, probably by 50 pounds. But anyway, what we finally ended up doing was I actually to separate him, like get him to separate him, but actually stood between them and wouldn't let him. Tahiti would not stop, kept running at him. So what I did was kept blocking her way so she could not get to him. And eventually she would back off. And I'd be correcting her at that point, and that did work. But boy, I'll tell you what, it was a job for a couple of days there to keep her from attacking poor Baltic.
I'm surprised you didn't just leash her.
Huh?
I'm surprised you didn't just leash her.
Well, I didn't think about that, but yeah, I just wanted to correct her, and she stopped it. I mean, she did stop, but we had to go, and it would only take, just a minute to do it. But we would just have to stand right in front, and if she tried to go around, we'd just go with her and keep her from going and correcting her and telling her to stay back or leave it or whatever happened to come out of the mouth at that moment. And it did work, but she was really ready to go, wanted to play like she does with her mother. And he was good, but he laid there and he wasn't attacking her or anything, but he was just worn out with her,
So in answer to your question, Kenny, yes, they can play. It's okay for them to play. It's how they learn socialization and, what's okay and what's not okay. And so that puppy is kind of learning from your older dog. So you just want to be aware of their play.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that.
You are welcome. And Laura just wrote something in the chat. Yeah, remember that the leash is your friend. Don't be afraid to use
right.
your leash in your house. I mean, we use it to go out shopping, so don't be afraid to use it in your house. It's very helpful. Just, even just to get a puppy under control, leash them. And
that's what I should have done. That would have been much easier.
Yeah. Yes, it would have.
So Melina, is Sage laying at your feet now?
Oh yeah, she's fast asleep.
Yeah. Okay. So we saw her earlier jumping all over her.
Yep.
And she put her on a leash, stood on the leash, just got her to settle. We haven't heard from her since.
Yeah.
I know. It worked.
Well done. Well done.
Good lesson right there for all of us, even as our old timers.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
true. Yeah.
Yep. I'm using my leash much more in the house than I ever used to. And I'm finding it just from answering the door to when I need them to settle down, because I have 3 dogs. And sometimes when they start going and I just want to be like, let's be calm, I'll just leash one of them. And all it takes is one. Leashing one, bringing them to my side. Okay, everybody's going to calm down, and it works. So I've very much made the leash my friend.
Well, you just made me a believer, so I'm doing it.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions? Any other things that people would like to share?
I'll share something positive
All right.
since we have all kinds of questions. So my parents came to visit me, and my dad is not a dog person at all. Like, he's ignored the dog that I've had as a pet for 12 years. He's like, whatever, dog.
Oh.
But when he walked into my house, Conan immediately took to my dad. Like, I think he must miss the large alpha male vibes that he maybe had in prison, because my dad is a tall guy. And so Conan like literally sat next to him, like basically wanted to be wherever he was. We went for a walk and I was like, Dad, why don't you walk Conan? Perfect angel. We went out to restaurants and stuff, and he was so good. And when my parents left, my dad was so impressed with Conan. He spent 5 minutes saying goodbye to Conan and still completely ignored the dog I've had for 12 years.
So unfair.
I know. I'm like, what about Brew, Dad? He's been my baby for 12 years.
Oh my gosh.
But he was just so impressed with what a good dog he was and everything he could do. So
very nice.
Whoever had him before I did, obviously did a lot of good things. So
Good. Good. That's good to hear. Yeah. And now maybe your dad might like dogs, maybe at least Conan, right?
Yeah, just Conan.
Well, that's okay.
I'm gonna be at Martin, which is where Conan came out of prison. So I'll be there on Monday. So I'll be sure to let the inmate who had him know how well he's doing, and that
Please
you bragged on him.
Yeah, and just that he's so lovely, and yeah, I love him. I don't want him to ever go, but I know he has to.
You just make sure you have another incoming dog, Valerie.
I know. Just need one right away to distract me.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about that. They'll bring you one when they come to take him, they'll give you one.
There will be 6 coming on Monday. 6 coming up out of prison, and we need puppy raisers. So
I got to get my puppy trained first. So give me a few months, and once I get her trained, I'll take one.
Oh my gosh, Margaret, that'd be 3 for you. Wow.
That's okay. As long as I can, my transient dog is now what I've labeled him as transient. I have my 2 permanent ones now, so I'll have my transient one that'll be here for 6 to 8 months.
Right.
And I miss them. I miss them terribly.
Yeah.
Particularly the big bad boys. I miss my big bad boys.
Right.
I do.
All right. Any other questions? Everybody good? Okay. So the training at the end of the month, for those of you that are in the Central Florida area, is happening. So please keep it on your calendar. If it's either going to be at the firehouse in somewhere in Orlando, I don't have a location right now, or it's probably going to be at the Millennium Mall. I have to double check with Kate. I can't get a hold of the fire guy until Tuesday. So just know there is a training. It is on the 31st. It is going to be 10 to 12. We just don't have the location confirmed yet. So as soon as it's confirmed, Kate will send it out in an email and you'll have it. But just know that we definitely are going to have a training. There's just the location. So yes, keep working on your loose leash walking. This will be uploaded to the YouTube channel if you want to see that video again. And there have been past videos on the Friends page. So some of you who are new want to go to our friend, you need to be, if you're on Facebook, you want to be added to our Friends page, and there are videos that were done. You just have to kind of scroll back through and look for different videos that people have done that might be helpful to you. If you're not on the friends page, you can friend me or you can friend Kate, and then we'll add you. So there's usually some good information. There's reminders on that page. Yeah, and I think that's it. Anything else for the good of the group? Laura, did you have your hand up? Oh, you're saying bye. Okay. All right.
I just want to see one of the new puppies.
You want to see one of the new puppies?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, there's one going potty, it looks like.
See, Linda has Gamora. There you go.
Look at
Oh, they're so cute.
And Chuck's off video. They have Cinder, but I don't know if she's right there. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
This is Slate. The little one is Slate. He was 12 weeks Wednesday.
Aw.
And this is Benson. He is going to be 2 years old August 14th.
Oh,
Yeah.
These are the two that like to wrestle each other.
Yep.
oh my gosh. So just real quick, Laura had a good reminder. So yes, we want you to be on the friends page, but the friends page is for puppy raisers and recipients. It's not for like your neighbor who wants to see all the pup. It's for people who have a dog from New Horizons. So just keep that in mind. I've had a couple people ask me, oh, can so-and-so? And I'm like, well, are they a puppy raiser? Well, no, but no. It's a private page and we want to keep it that way. So yeah, that's.
Yeah, I just wanted to remember how innocent they were.
Oh.
Wendy, would you check to see if I've been
Yes.
dropped on the page? I'm not been getting any.
Yep. That's for sure. All right, everybody, we are done. We are out. Thank you so much. Next training is July 31st, and we'll have August schedule out pretty soon. Maybe August schedule is already out. I think August schedule is already out. So bye and thank you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda.